Last night, Timcast IRL was live on stage at Turning Point USA. You can check it out over at youtube.com/TimcastIRL. And during the Q&A session of the show, which went up for members only at timcast.com, we got word that Kari Lake's election lawsuit had survived a motion to dismiss and would be moving to trial. This is a nuclear bombshell. Now, I still don't know what's going to happen, but I predicted some of this yesterday. If you watched my main segment video, I said I didn't know if some of the claims like the First Amendment, free speech and stuff could be properly adjudicated, because although we can see interference with Democrats reaching out to Twitter, how you then relate that to an election is extremely difficult. So what ends up happening is the judge dismisses, I believe, 8 of 10 charges, 10 counts, and allows 2 very, very important ones to proceed. Notably was the broken chain of custody. Now, that one's interesting because if chain of custody of these ballots was broken, that is a criminal act, I believe. But I want to make sure I get all this right. So I want to read for you some of the news reporting, which should make you laugh. But you got to understand, most of these election challenges never make it this far. This was the Great Barrier. A motion to dismiss. Kari Lake yesterday argued in court, her team did, that there were a variety of reasons that show there was intent to disenfranchise and effectively manipulate the outcome of the election. We've not even gotten to an evidentiary hearing. It's got to go to a trial, right? If we're truly going to understand what's true. But before you can get there, the judge says, okay, what's your argument? Kari Lake says, for instance, I'll give you one example. The First Amendment was violated. And he says, I don't know how we do that, right? Whether or not the opinions of an individual would have gone one way or the other if the First Amendment wasn't violated. How do you rule on that in terms of a hard vote resulting in someone getting elected? Like, the judge can say, I rule X amount of votes had broken chain of custody. You're gone. But what's he going to say? You know, I estimate that with 1 million followers on Twitter, there probably should be. Nah, it's not going to happen. So, of course, a good portion of this was going to get dismissed. That's the point. It's a shotgun blast. You fire as much as you can out there. You're spraying and praying. But I think what we're seeing with this lawsuit is Kari Lake's most important claims are advancing. Surprise, surprise. The media has nothing good to say. First, the story from Newsweek. I like this headline, so that's the one I've chosen to lead with. Kari Lake tells America to buckle up as sliver of lawsuit advances. Ah, yes, the sliver of the lawsuit. I'll put it this way. If you ordered a mega ultra cheeseburger with bacon, lettuce, tomatoes, onion, and then someone came by and said, we're taking off the onion, the tomato, the lettuce, but you can keep the cheese and the meat. Is it still a cheeseburger? Yeah, you get my point. A sliver? It's the bulk of it. Are you nuts? This is the main claim. They're not going to tell you the truth. They're already saying things. Look how they frame this from the Hill. Come on, the Hill. You guys are better than this. Arizona judge dismisses most of Kari Lake's lawsuit challenging election results. This is journalistic malpractice to imply, to insinuate, to make people believe that this isn't going anywhere, when in fact it is. That's the craziest thing. Here's CNN. Maricopa judge allows narrow part of Kari Lake's Arizona election lawsuit to head to trial. Hey, at least CNN gave her that much. You know who did it very, very well, I think? The AP. Kari Lake will get to make case for election misconduct. There you go. How about we call it something very simple? Kari Lake's election challenge is going to trial. So we're sitting up on stage at TP USA. We got people lining up to ask questions, and Charlie Kirk just says, we just got breaking news. Kari Lake's case is going to trial. That's the news. Everything else is propaganda, manipulation, minutia. Can Kari Lake prove her substantial claims? That is, broken chain of custody. I mean, that's huge. Think about it this way. A bunch of ballots are put into a machine. They're counted. A bunch of mail-in votes come in. And they say, okay, now we're going to count those. Then they disappear. Where'd they go? Then they show up to the warehouse. Hey, who had those? Where'd they come from? We don't know. So I gotta say that is misconduct. Okay. Now the question is, can Kari Lake prove intent? Now I gotta say right off the bat, this is insane. There is a big problem in a lot of our lawsuits when it comes to giving the benefit of the doubt to the people who may be the ones doing wrong. And what I'll say by this is, I certainly believe innocent until proven guilty. But the courts often don't even let you get to the point where you can try to prove it. That's the problem. Like when it comes to defamation lawsuits. You know, part of me likes the Times v. Sullivan stuff, that it's hard to file a lawsuit because it allows this business to operate without that much fear. But I don't defame people and I don't lie. So I have very little to fear as it is, other than frivolous lawsuits, I guess. But when someone defames you and you're like, hey, this guy defamed me, the court says, dismissed. Well, let me prove it, man. I can prove they knew they were lying. And the court says, nah, no, not interested. Here's the news. Let's read the news. Let's do the Newsweek one. They say, only 2 out of the 10 counts in Kari Lake's election lawsuit were permitted to advance to trial this week, giving supporters of the former Arizona gubernatorial candidate a fraction of a chance to overturn the election results. I love how they frame this. Only 2 out of 10. What are the 10? I'll go through them for you. In Lake's suit filed this month against Governor-elect Katie Hobbs and state election officials and county election officials, please include that, the Republican argues the election results could be set aside due to voting irregularities, demanding a recount, or that she is called the winner. We'll see. Hobbs, who serves as Arizona Secretary of State, won the election by just over 17,000 votes and requested that Lake's lawsuit be dismissed. Now, I'm not going to criticize Katie Hobbs for requesting a dismissal. That's fair, in my opinion, because anybody who's serious in a court case is not going to be like, we have no motion to dismiss. We'd like to go to trial. No, they're going to do what they have to do. They got a bunch of it dismissed. That's just procedural. I do think this is the best possible outcome because it means, okay, a judge issued his ruling on a bunch of these claims. I actually agree to a certain extent, but we'll go through it. Like I said, the First Amendment thing. But if you got evidence of a crime being committed, a broken chain of custody on hundreds of thousands of votes, is that the allegation? Oh, come on. Now, here's the problem. The intent? She's got to prove intent. So you mean to tell me that someone can accidentally lose hundreds of thousands of ballots and you're going to be like, it's fine. That's crazy to me. Oh, plausible deniability. Yes, the ballots, we don't know where they came from, but I didn't intentionally do it, so I get to win? That's crazy. That's crazy. They say this. On Monday, Maricopa County Judge Peter Thompson threw out a majority of Lake's argument, stating that her accusations lacked proper evidence. However, 2 counts from the suit have been allowed to move forward to trial, which was previously scheduled for Tuesday. So I think that's happening today and tomorrow. It might be Wednesday and Thursday. I'm not sure. Katie Hobbs' attempt to have our case thrown out failed. Katie Hobbs, she said, our election case is going to trial. Katie Hobbs' attempt to have our case thrown out failed. She will have to take the stand and testify. Oh, boy. Buckle up, America. This is far from over. And that's all I can ask for. If in the end Kari Lake loses, I will be disappointed. I'm a big fan. I think she's a fighter. There's very few politicians I like. She's one of the ones that I actually do like. In one count that advanced to trial, Lake alleges that ballot printers malfunctioning on Election Day, November 8th, were not certified and, quote, have vulnerabilities that render them susceptible to hacking. Maricopa County, the largest county in Arizona, did experience issues with roughly 20% of its tabulator machines, but county officials have previously denied Lake's allegations that same-day voters were disenfranchised. Now, does that matter? The question is, was there an intent? Did they ignore certification? Apparently, there's a cyber expert who says, normally we do it this way. They intentionally violated procedure. How are they going to answer to that? They're going to have to get their own experts. We will see. I'm going to be honest with you. I don't see this winning. I'm not trying to be black-pilled or negative. It was a long shot to begin with. There are problems with our election systems. But the issue is, in my opinion, ballot harvesting. And I've got something to show you, I think, that backs that up. And some other crazy data for you. Thompson wrote in his decision Monday that Lake is entitled to attempt to prove at trial that a Maricopa County employee purposefully did interfere with the printers in question and that the malfunctions would have affected the outcome of election. Oh boy, I just got to say, I don't know if Kari Lake can prove that. That's a bold claim to make. The judge says, okay, prove it in court. This could be the end. Okay? All right? YouTube, calm down with your censorship. This is how the process is supposed to go. And if Kari Lake loses and the judge says, look, you've not proven it, we should get to see that. Here we go. The second count permitted to move forward includes Lake's allegation regarding the ballot's chain of custody. Lake asserts that ballots were added in Maricopa County by employees who worked for the election service utilized by the state. Thompson wrote in his decision that while Hobbs' team had claimed in its dismissal that Lake misunderstood the chain of custody laws, the issue at hand is a dispute of fact if the county in question complied with its own manual and applicable statuses. On Tuesday, each party will meet for witness examination and closing statements. Oh, they're going to have to lie, right? Lake, who was endorsed by former President Donald Trump, has been a staunch supporter of Trump's baseless assertion that the 2020 presidential election was stolen. She also failed to say before the midterm elections against Hobbs if she would accept the results if she lost. I don't think anybody with a claim who feels that something happened should, I don't care if it's a Democrat or otherwise. Hillary Clinton, file your lawsuits. Instead, Hillary Clinton goes into the press and claims Trump is working with Russia and other garbage nonsense. Okay. Current Arizona Governor Doug Ducey, a Republican, has previously met with Hobbs to ensure a peaceful transition of power in the new year and congratulated the governor-elect on her hard-fought race. Here's what I think. I think that the Republican establishment does not want to let Kari Lake win because she's Trump, because she's MAGA. They can't allow that. But I don't know if Kari Lake actually has, look, I'll tell you what I think. I think mail-in ballots did it. I think universal mail-in voting, I think ballot harvesting. I think Republicans are still convinced of this. Last night, Ian on stage says, we need to get a good message to the people. And I'm like, dude, no. Okay? I'm not saying don't get a good message. Of course you do. But that's not how Democrats win. Democrats do not win by adequately informing people of policy. They win by walking up to their doors, knocking and saying, vote. That's it. Ballot chasing. That's what Charlie Kirk is calling it. He said, not harvesting, chasing. Making sure that every single person votes. Right? That's what the Democrats have been saying. So when they go door to door and they get the votes, congratulations, universal mail-in voting. So let's take a look at some of this lawsuit. And I don't want to spend too much time going through every single claim. I just want to show you the counts, the ones that he dismissed. But I want to show you this tweet from Matthew Iglesias about a major shift in Air Force Base polling, a shift towards the Democratic Party. And I want to tell you this because of what we're seeing with Kari Lake. I'm not convinced anybody's going to be satisfied with the results. If the Democrats end up losing because of this election, they're going to lose their minds. If the Republicans, if Kari Lake doesn't win, they're not going to accept it either. So when I talk about civil war, you need to look at these polls and show military bases shifting Democrat. And I'll explain why. And this, I think, is a major component. But let's read. Count 1. Violation. No, we're not restarting. We'll get out of here. All right. You see what they try to do to you when they get this stupid garbage? Plaintiff's first count alleges that defendants Hobbs and Richard's actions constitute per se violations of the First Amendment and its Arizona Constitution cognate that merit invalidation of the election results. Not only does the verified statement fail to set forth an unconstitutional infringement on plaintiffs or anyone's speech, even if it did, it would not set forth misconduct. Okay, my position here is, I said it. When it comes to the First Amendment, how do you actually prove that violating the First Amendment changed a hard number of votes? Hey, I think there's malfeasance. I think they're playing dirty games. But it's just not there. I'm sorry, man. We know it interferes. We know it manipulates people. But how does a judge say X amount of votes? He can't do it. He can certainly maybe issue a ruling, or there can be a different suit, maybe something pertaining to the violation of free speech. Count 2, illegal tabulator configurations. He says plaintiffs alleges the ballot on demand printers that malfunctioned on election day were not certified and have vulnerabilities that render them susceptible to hacking, according to a declaration attached to the statement. He says the court takes plaintiff to mean two things by this count. The use of BOD printers lacking certification was misconduct by some responsible officials, and 2, that someone did something to the printers to cause them to misprint ballots. The former is not enough to state a claim. Plaintiff cites yada, 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 yada. Consequently, a ballot printer, blah, 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 blah. You get the point. I think this is the one where he actually allows to move forward. Oh, no, he says this one denied as to count 2 as narrowed above. Count 3, invalid signatures on mail-in ballots. Let's just jump down. Count 3 must be dismissed. He says ballot chain of custody. Now, this one's interesting. I think this is definitely interesting. He says motions are denied to count 4. Count 5, equal protection, and count 6, due process. Those are definitely denied. 5 and 6 dismissed. 7 dismissed. 8 dismissed. And so 7 is incorrect certification. I'm sorry, that was 8. 7 was secrecy clause, arguing that mail-in ballots procedure unconstitutional. Blah, 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 blah. Okay, like I just want to get to where's he count 9 dismissed. So, okay. So he basically dismisses everything except for the 2 that I mentioned. And it said narrow dismissal. He says it is ordered dismissing all counts of the plaintiff's verified statement on election contest except for 2 and 4. It is further ordered affirming the court's prior order considering ballot inspection take place. Okay, here we go. All right. It is further ordered affirming this court's prior order concerning ballot inspection to take place at 8 a.m. on Tuesday, December 20th, 2022. So by the time you watch this, it will have begun. I'm excited, man. I'm going to tell you, I don't think it survives. I don't, but I'm interested to see how this plays out. All right. So he does say here, consequently, plaintiff has stated a claim under ARS. Defendant's motions are denied as to count 4. This is interesting because he basically says they're denied, but in the end says they're not denied. So I'm not a lawyer. I can't tell you what this means. I'm sorry. I'm an idiot. Defendant's motions, not plaintiffs. Okay, there we go. Count 3 must be dismissed, but outright as for 4, he says defendant's motions are denied as to count 4. Defendants dispute the lack of compliance with chain of custody laws and claim plaintiff is misunderstood as presented whether the county complied with its own manual and applicable statutes is a dispute of fact rather than one of law. This is true as to whether such a lack of compliance was both intentional and did in fact result in a changed outcome. Defendants, that's Katie Hobbs. And then as per count 2, right, that was defendants' motions are denied as to count 2. So Kari Lake is the plaintiff. Defendant had those denied. The judge is moving those forward. We get it. Take a look at this. Let's talk about Civil War. Matthew Iglesias posted this. The Spanish flu posted this. San Antonio area military bases. Fort Sam, 2012, R plus 14. 2016, R plus 4. 2020, D plus 7. 2022, D plus 12. Randolph Air Force Base, 2012, R47. 2016, R30. 2020, R5. 2022, Governor, R.6. Lackland, 2012, R26. 2016, R20. 2020, R25. 2022. Let me slow down for you. This is showing that in these Air Force bases, there's a dramatic shift from Republican to Democrat. And they'll tell you, because people don't get it, man. They're going to come out and they're going to tell you, oh, the Democrats are winning. Their people are abandoning the Republican Party. No, they aren't. 2 things are happening here. Younger people are coming in. They skew Democrat, normal. Ballot harvesting is coming in. That skews Democrat, normal. I shouldn't say normal, but reality. But more importantly, armed forces members who are anti-woke, who believe in freedom, who want to fly the Gadsden flag, are leaving. This is what I have been warning you about. Now, I don't know that a civil war happens, but when I point to things like this, okay, I'm saying, hey, consider this. And people give me rebuttal. That's fair point. Good rebuttals, right? You take a look at what's happening in Arizona. All right, something serious is happening with our elections. People are not accepting them. And maybe for good reason, maybe not. Doesn't matter. The left and the right aren't going to come to an agreement on this one. And then you take a look at our military, and people say, dude, there won't be a civil war. The military is conservative. And I have warned y'all. Back in 2018, I remember. I said, I fear we're heading towards a civil war. I'm reading these articles talking about this is how it starts. And I had these DC conservative types telling me I'm nuts. The security state, the federal government would never let a civil war happen. You can't look at Antifa and Proud Boys and just think a civil war is coming. And I said, it is escalation. That the culture war will reach the highest levels of government. I'm not talking about some street groups fighting each other. I'm talking about how the street fights will reach the highest levels of government. And then you get to the point where 2 cars speed to the DC police chief. 2 men jump out and say, arrest that man. That's what Matt Taibbi wrote about. saying he fears that we're getting to that point. And that was, I think it was a couple years ago he wrote that. And then people, and then we start seeing it with the federal government, with January 6th, etc. These street level protests reached the highest levels of government, with Joe Biden directly supporting the far left riots, with Kamala Harris funding them or fundraising for them. With January 6th, it is getting to that point, with Nancy Pelosi wanting crew-served machine guns in D.C. Did that not raise alarm bells? Now we have this. I was told then, Tim, it can never happen. Come on. Because you know what's going to happen is the military, they're all conservative. Even if the far left morons went out, the right has guns, blah, blah, blah. And now what we're seeing as the crisis worsens, conservatives are fleeing the military. They are. Thomas Massey called it. People on the right are saying, I'm not going to stay. I'm not going to enlist. And look at what's happening. There's just a few Air Force bases. It's not everything. But the shift will happen. See, I warned of this when I saw a video out of Seattle where a cop, so it's a guy walking backwards with his hands up. Then there's a bunch of Antifa pointing weapons at him. The cops arrest the dude who's backing away. The cops then walk up and apologize to Antifa. Get it? Good cops have quit. Bad cops are staying. The machine is being entrenched and reinforced by cult members. So, when I say civil war, this is what I fear. I don't know what will the outcome be with Kari Lake, but it's going to be today, so I'm going to be watching closely, and I'm very excited for this. Maricopa County is currently trending. We've got a reporter on the ground. We're hopefully embedding with Kari Lake's team. I don't know if that's actually going to happen, but it'll be great if we can get in there and start tracking real time what's going on. You know, I think it would be really fantastic to see that story. So hopefully, shout out to Kari Lake. I hope you guys can pull this one off because I'm a fan. But I shout out to the judge. Okay, if you can't get past the judges, so be it. We need to win on procedural grounds. We need to win judges. We need to win, state level elections. So be it. But this is a good start. I'll leave it there. Next segment's coming up at 1 p.m. on this channel. Thanks for hanging out, and I will see you all then.